War is usually remembered by the moment it ends. A surrender, a victory, a return home. But for many soldiers in World War II, the war did not end with a final shot. It ended quietly, when the noise moved on, and they did not. As armies advanced across Europe, speed became more important than people. Commanders pushed forward, lines shifted, maps changed, and in that movement, men disappeared. Not because they ran, not because they surrendered, but because they were left behind. Some were wounded during advances that moved too fast to stop. Others were part of patrols sent ahead with no clear extraction. Entire units were ordered to hold positions that no longer mattered once the front line passed them. When communication failed, they became invisible. At first, they waited with hope. The sound of friendly artillery was still close. The sky still moved with aircraft. The war still felt present. Then the sounds began to fade. Days passed. Radios stayed silent. No runners arrived. No new orders came. The soldiers listened as the war drifted farther away, realizing something that no training had prepared them for. They were no longer part of it. For the wounded, abandonment was slow torture. Men lay in forests, ruins, shell holes, barns, and frozen trenches. Morphine ran out. Bandages became useless. Pain became constant. Some tried to crawl toward the sound of distant fighting. Many collapsed before they moved 10 meters. Others waited because they believed waiting was safer than moving. Moving meant being seen. Moving meant bleeding out. Moving meant choosing a direction without knowing where the front line was anymore. In Eastern Europe, soldiers froze while waiting for night to end. In Italy, men hid in villages shattered by artillery, listening to footsteps echo through streets that no longer belonged to anyone. In France and Belgium, wounded soldiers survived behind advancing lines, only to be discovered days later by enemy patrols returning to territory thought to be cleared. Entire patrols vanished this way. Recon teams sent into forests or mountains without reliable communication. Units cut off during rapid advances or chaotic retreats. When the war moved on, no one knew where they were. On reports, they became a single word: missing. If stories like these matter to you, if you believe history is more than dates and victories, consider subscribing to this channel. Ashes of War exists to tell the stories that were left behind, the ones history moved past in silence. Families at home waited just as they did. Letters stopped coming. Weeks turned into months. No confirmation, no body, no explanation. Just silence and hope slowly turning into grief without closure. History rarely pauses to look at these men. There are no monuments for abandonment, no medals for waiting. War history prefers motion, offensives, breakthroughs, victories, defeats. It does not like stillness. It does not like unanswered endings. But abandonment was part of the war, a quiet part, a human part. For those who survived being left behind, the war never truly ended. Being abandoned teaches a lesson no battlefield victory can erase, that survival does not always mean being saved. Sometimes it only means living long enough to understand that no one is coming. After the war, many never spoke about it. How do you explain surviving something that was never supposed to happen? How do you explain waiting for days in pain, fear, and silence, knowing you had been forgotten? Some soldiers died in battle, others died waiting. And some lived, carrying the knowledge that when the war moved on, they did not. This is not a story of heroism or failure. It is a story of absence, of the spaces history left empty. Because in war, being left behind is sometimes worse than dying. And long after the guns fell silent, the echoes of that abandonment never did.